Moving over to another segment, and now with me in the studio, Charity Marcus Tanko, also with me this morning. I also take a look at some major things. Charity, the pleasure having you.
Yeah. Thank you, and good morning. And we have our guest here who is going to be talking to us about the race for the National Assembly leadership. It's been ongoing right from after the election. People are already showing their interest to vie for the Senate President and the Speakership. So we have our own very Ginika Tor, right? She's a true Nigerian.
Yeah, she said something off camera. I'm still in a state of shock because she doesn't look like somebody for that. I spent like 7 years in Enugu. I went to university in Enugu. I spent about 7 years. But I've seen so many girls from the eastern part of Nigeria, but she doesn't look like one. I would have thought she's probably from the Adamawa State or somewhere from the Fulani origin.
She looks more like Fulani.
But just like you said, she's a typical Nigeria. She represents every aspect of the society. But back to the major issue what we have right here with us the studio, and it boils down to the issue of the National Assembly, the zoning issue, which has been a major topic for discussion across the length and breadth of Nigeria. After we're done with the presidency, the onus now is on who gets to be the Senate President, who gets to be the Speaker of the House. They said the last time we have a proper sharing of the big position in Nigeria was during the era of Obasanjo. But from that, it has been one way or the other, people just trying to, what will your assessment be? Let's take for instance the Ninth Assembly. The arrangement was speakership put into consideration that the president is from the northern part of Nigeria, but in a way the vice president who happens to be from the southwest, then the Senate and also the speakership. What's your assessment of how do we get it right?
Well, it's all about inclusion.
Yeah.
And talking about the Ninth Assembly, we're about to live in phase right now, and we're getting into the 10th Assembly. And when you talk about zoning has to do with the fact that you want to give everybody a sense of belonging, because there are zones that do not have any number of persons or large number of persons to make input in the political spheres, but they are part of the country. And when you zone, it limits issues, it limits chaos, because at the same time you know that, okay, we are one as a country, and zoning gives opportunity for others who ordinarily, if you go at people who have got the numbers, then they will continue to just remain a part of the country without making an impact on the country. So it's essential at this point. But however, when you also look at zoning, you also look at different parts, different spheres, different facets where inclusion is involved. And and when you are zoning, you look at the fact that you can actually use one stone to kill about 4 birds. You know what I mean by that. And having said that, you give at least that part a sense of belonging. And however, looking at it deeply, you also look at the fact that it's competency, because we have come to a stage where competency has to come to play. Because I think the major issue we have in the country right now is a situation where we just look at zoning and you overrule sentiments. Overrule competency. And at the end of the day, you get it wrong. We are at that stage where we need to start getting ourselves back as the giant of Africa. So in our thinking, in our sharing, in our decision, somebody was like, oh, Southeast, we have the Senate President coming, we have the rep. And I tell them, you do not know the pregnancy that's going to give birth to. So since you do not know the pregnancy that will give birth to the Savior at this point, we are at liberty to pick from both, to contest from both angles. At the end of the day, when the zoning now goes into a particular aspect, we all put our effort there. It's all about us and about others too. We are not selfish people. So what am I trying to say? So it has come to a time when we need to begin to look at unity and diversity for the good of all.
Okay, from what you just said now, if it boils down to zoning, it's okay. But there are also people who are calling for, that are saying that there is no need to zone, that it should be left open. What do you think?
This is a democratic society. Since the emergence of democratic rule in 1999, we have got this kind of issues. And it hasn't taken us anywhere when you say we shouldn't zone. If you don't want to zone and you've overruled the fact that there are people who are in the minority but are still part of this country, that means you are saying you are not part of the country.
Okay.
So, but I also look at merit. I don't look at zoning without merit. And then you can't tell me that when you zone, you don't have competent people in that area. It's all about the people from that area to ensure that they project somebody with competence so that when that representation comes, it is for the good of the country. It's for the good of all. So you can see what has played out in the past, especially in this past election.
Yeah.
It is the most competitive election ever held in Nigeria. And for me, I always say it's the most credible. Because it's an election where you now have somebody who do not have a voice.
There are lots of people out there that would agree with you on this.
Correct. I mean, so people misunderstand me when I say this, but seriously, the fact that it doesn't pan to your side does not mean that it is wrong finally, because you should look at every area. So for me, I think zoning is essential in a democratic society to ensure there's no lopsidedness in one side. You can see what has happened about religion. People like me supported Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the fullest, regardless of the fact that we had Muslims the ticket. I was of the opinion that we've always had Christian Muslims, they will still complain. And for me, God used the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. So if Muslim ticket is that foolish thing that God wants to use to repair this country, I'm all in for it. So I was not going to be overruled. My sense of reasoning cannot be overruled with sentiments of ethnic or sentiments of religion or religious bigotry. I look at the fact that we have a man who has done it before, who can do it again, who has technical know-how, the capacity, the tenacity, and whatever it takes to get this country moving forward. And we have gotten to that stage where we don't look at the religious aspect or ethnic issue, but to look at the way forward. And my group, Omani Work Progressive Initiative, we are all about good governance. Regardless of ethnic, we are for the Igbos, and we need to get them into great alliance of, getting in this great circle of politics and getting our region or zone moving forward. So for me, I think zoning is essential at this time.
But my worry is when you talk about zoning, we talked about about outgoing Night Assembly, and a lot of people talk because of the agreement they had within itself. They are more of yes people than challenging the executives over the presidency over some decision. That if the opportunity is left open, people who think they are capable run into office. It will not just be a yes affair. Most times when we have zoning, most times it's always down to the whims and caprices of the powers that be. And that may not be good for politics and also for the development of this country. What's your take on this?
Well, I've also challenged the National Assembly of the Night Assembly that, especially for federal character, they haven't done their right oversight duties there. And that is why we, as enshrined in Section 14 of the Constitution, to be able to balance the imbalance and to get equitable distribution, we somehow have failed. And that is because the National Assembly hasn't taken real oversight duties as it regards our commission. So coming from that angle, I won't say much on that. But moving forward is what we're looking at. It's all about work in progress and moving forward. The man that has emerged as the president-elect of this country and the vice president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shettima, go and look at their records, their antecedents. It's all about they are desirous of giving results. So we are not going to have that issue, because I believe that when you have a man who is desirous of getting things rightly done, you will definitely get it rightly done. And at the last meeting we had here on ITV, I mentioned that most times people take blames on the president. My Baba Buhari has done his best, and he has been able to put people in position of authority. The onus is on those people who have been given opportunity, because you see, this opportunity we are talking about is also, we are looking at balancing it, giving it to different people from different zones to be able to say there's a sense of belonging. It is their duty to get there and do the right thing. The president is not a magician that will be everywhere. But I know that looking at what His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari had done, the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu is going to look at where he succeeded and upgrade. And when he hadn't succeeded, he will make sure that he learned from those instances. So I can tell you to be rest assured that this 10th assembly, you can see, is no longer business
as usual. Yes.
We have some very
it's a combination of a whole lot of people.
Felt the negative impact of wrong, interpretation of our laws, and even neglect and gross abuse and gross misconduct and to the rule of law. Do you understand? So these people are coming with a different mindset. There's going to be a lot of challenge. But I'm bold to say that the president-elect is a man that desires of seeing the country move forward. Not only that, you know the worst place for a man is to have a wrong woman in your room. Okay, the woman who also has been listed as number 1 in the 10th women doing great in the political sphere. So Nigeria is about to experience the best moments of their lifetime. So for me, it is time for us to, begin to consider everyone from the aspect of, you may not have the number, but we are brothers and sisters. Like you look at me, I look like Fulani. Fulani people should take me as their sister. Because that I'm coming from the Igbo. My people were, over their minds were overruled by the fact that religion and all of that. But at the end of the day, I took the blow. I supported Bola Ahmed Tinubu because I understand this man is going to change the narrative. So it is for me now to speak for my people. So please, zoning is necessary. We are only 5 states. We don't marry more.
Yes. I want to ask, in the House of Representatives, we have 2 people from the Southeast gunning for this speakership. We have Honorable Princess Miriam Onoha, and then we have Honorable Benjamin Kalu. So are we going to see one stepping for the other? Because at this point, people are thinking that one should be able to step down for the other so that we can join forces and push this.
Well, this stepping down for the other is a thing of the mind and a thing of conscience. And I
also remember, Princess, at her last listing, she asked all her male aspirants to step down for her. For me, women, since the emergence of democratic rule since 1999, women have been crying for this opportunity of inclusivity. And this state assembly we've recorded the worst number of women representation in the National Assembly. So most women, of course, sincerely will come out to say, if you give it to gender, if you give it to youth, if you give it to ethnic city, if you give it to region, if you give it, so you could use 1 stone to kill 5 birds. Now, when you consider gender, when you consider a woman, and that is if the rep aspect is zoned to Assad. But if it's not, until it comes in, then they should be looking at men with capacity who can also do it. But when you come to the rep aspect, Benjamin has got Miriam to contend with. Exactly.
And government should look deeper. They are brothers and sisters. A time will come when I think we have gotten the blow enough to understand that it is time for us to start sitting together as family and decide and project.
Instead of just...
So if we decide and project Benjamin, let him go. We should decide and project Miriam Ono and let him go. We have a leader also. We have 2 leaders. We have Ohupu Zadema leading us in Imo State as our Southeast leader. We have Obi Umahi Dave Umahi. That was my pastor. So in Ebonyi State. Both of them as brothers. The leaders in the South should come together, sit, decide. If it is to throw the coin and get it going. But when you look at it, however, we want to talk about Southeast and take care of large facet. When you look at women inclusion, I'm a woman advocate, champion. Regardless, sometimes I'm misunderstood. But I think it's high time we started looking at ourselves. Look at what happened in Adamawa State. I would like to speak on that. Binani, as a person, has given us leverage to say, women, you can actually do this thing. And for her to have challenged the incumbent, not just incumbent, a man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It means that I can be a governor tomorrow.
Exactly.
So, regardless of the fact that it panned out the way it has, to the extent that, okay, Vintiri has been announced as a winner.
Yeah.
For me, in my lifetime, going forward, until now, till ever, Binani is my winner. Because it wasn't easy for the men at the end of the day. And this is the first time they will feel it. So
give them a run for their strength.
So even now the supplementary election.
Yes, I want to use this opportunity to say big congratulations to Binani. And if the governor-elect is not challenged in court and whatever, and Binani do not take it anytime soon, I would want to encourage and advise him. If you see a woman with capacity, tenacity, intellect, technical know-how, and you want the state to move forward, look for her. Get her in the system.
Yeah.
Get her, because it's about Adamawa people moving forward. It's about Adamawa people getting what is due to them. It's about Adamawa people getting the right narrative. And Binani has given we women hope.
Like
Exactly.
morale.
Yes,
Morale is high now.
Oh my God.
You can do it, you put your mind on it.
You know, so, and this is actually the first time it ever happened like this. Well, of course, we've recorded great women like Stella, we have Abike Dabiri.
Exactly.
First of all, led by Remi Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have Bemi Saraki. We have Kema Chikwe. I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at women.
Stella,
We have Narabi, Esther Usman.
Yeah.
We had Ikbazu.
yeah.
That woman continued to be an orator till tomorrow. We had Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is economy policy expert. You understand? We have the likes of Obieze Kwesili, you know. Then when you come to the entrepreneur part of it, you have Folosho Olakija, you have Ibuko Awoshika, you have Amina, Muhammad, you have more Ahmad. It's time for these people I just mentioned their names to set up the system for the women
to push through.
It takes them to set up the system. Forget backbiting, forget blackmailing, forget through them that spirit. They have shown us. We always saw the men as our head. We are the neck. But when the neck goes, the head follows. But when the head can only follow if the head can only follow the neck if the neck do not give the head stress. If the neck feels that you need to pull down the neck, the neck pulls down the neck, it's going to crack your neck. So that's what am I trying to say. Women, God has placed the men as the head of the family, as the head of the country, and all of that. All we need to do is to calm down and get them persuasively to regard us and do the needful. And the man that has emerged as the president-elect and his wife are those who I know will ensure that women are included in the governance. However, Kenya, I mentioned last time, has implemented that is 5%.
Of course, yes.
Give us that opportunity. Implement it. Cameroon implemented. Rwanda is one of the leading countries right now because the parliamentarians are majorly 65% of women. We are mothers. We think about our children. We don't do toggery because our children are in the system and the field. My son, if I decide to do that, might end up entering among those I'm going to ask to lead a team of those who are going to hit, and they hit him. So it's time for government to consider us that we are part of, and we have got a lot of potential to deposit in the system, you know. And moving forward, we have what it takes also to ensure that this country, like the last time I said, if you say subsidy removal, it's important for the country, but the approach is also important. Tell the people, we are about to do this. Get the referendum from them. Let them consent to it. It is for their own good. Get people in different states to teach. That is where the orientation comes. To educate them. If they understand, they will feel some pain to get some gain. Because there's no pain. There's no gain.
Instead of just imposing it on people.
When you just bring it out, the approach is the matter here. You know, so these are women. We have women who can bring in their technical knowledge in moving this country forward. And they should not be neglected.
Okay, and finally, before we let you go, we talked about one thing about the zoning issue, and we know one major area that has been that has felt neglected for quite some time is the southeastern region. Now we're talking about the Senate presidency. We have Ginika Tor also vying and a couple of others too. Not forgetting the South are also in the race. And we're also not talking about the Sibikashi. We also have somebody from the people from the Southeast also vying. And we talked about coming together and presenting the candidate, because at the same time you can't have the Senate president from the Southeast and you can't have the Sibikashi also from the Southeast. And that's one of the major challenges they are facing. The last assembly, there was no room for the Senate people from the Southeast. Do you think the Southeast do have the kind of candidate that can give them a sense of belonging, that can also be able to become the Senate president of this country?
Well, I can say to you, like I said, you do not know the presidency that will give birth to the savior.
Yeah.
We have very wonderful candidates. Like you mentioned, Ginika Tor.
Yeah.
He's a man that has stood the test of time and a man of truth.
Yeah.
There's also Osita Zinaso in the race, who also has stormed through the path. Even in our party, he was once the organizing secretary.
Yeah.
He has played his part in the party. And then you have, you mentioned Benjamin in the rep. And then my own sister, Miriam Onoha, women inclusion. So whichever, if they give us the Senate, like I said, there's no one that knows the president. So it's
don't you think they should just go for one instead of going for the two?
Not now. Not now. You know, at this point, they should see themselves as family. They are in the race. Once it is zoned, then that will be held. You know, you don't subject anybody not to bring out. You should come out to say, I want to. Because if you do not do that, people will not even consider you for any other better position. So they are all running now, meaning that if it is zoned to Senate, all of us will go and have a meeting and bring out one person. It has got to that stage, and it must happen in the Southeast, and it will take the two leaders.
That's quite interesting
to ensure it.
Do you see the possibility?
If it comes to the rep,
you see the possibility. You see the possibility of that.
Of a woman, that's why I somebody the restaurant the women force also booming.
It's
possible to have something like that.
It is possible, and that is why we will need to use a woman also to change whatever.
To change the narrative.
Yes, we should give us the opportunity to bring back a woman to also, you know, get it rightly done and follow the right.
It's all for the women.
We'll be talking with Ambassador Ginika Tor right there. I'll be taking a look at the zoning at the National Assembly, and she's been able to give us so many indices why things have to be done properly. And she's also an advocate of zoning, but in another sense, she's also advocating for a woman to also emerge either as a speaker or probably as a Senate president, whichever way it pans out at the end of the day. But I must say a big thank you to you for joining us this morning.
I'm also